Which scene in a film disturbed you the most? That one scene in Silent Hill where Pyramid Head basically skinned the lady in his grasp. That was fun for 7-year-old me. The Fly. When the lady is having a baby and a giant maggot is born. Turns my stomach. The part where he's crawling around on the ceiling had me freaking the duck out as a 10-year-old. I had a vaulted ceiling in my bedroom. And even with a nightlight on, it was still dark up there. Every night for about a month I went to bed imagining him chilling up there in the shadows waiting for me to close my eyes. This still haunts me. The movie is Saw 2, and it's the part where the big guy doesn't want to do his challenge, so he throws that girl into a pit of dirty needles. Can't think of many things that could be worse. This is honestly the first thing that came to my mind. I've seen that movie a couple of times, and that scene is one of the very few scenes in any movie that I will physically cover my eyes for, because I just can't watch it. There's a scene in a horror thriller film called Mirrors. The plot is basically there's another dimension in anything reflective, and they're evil for the most part. It's been over a decade since I've seen it, I'm sure, where a woman looks at her reflection in the mirror before getting in the bath. As she leaves the mirror, her reflection remains there. Couple of minutes later, she's chilling in the bath and the mirror version of her just starts ripping its own jaw open, which in turn forces the woman's jaw open in the bath, and she cannot do anything about it to stop it, and just has to let her jaw get torn to shreds as the bathtub fills with blood. It is brutal. Oh my god, I forgot about that one. Yup, terrifying. The bit when that guy blinds a kid by pouring burning oil into his eyes in Slumdog Millionaire. In the British nuclear apocalypse movie, Threads, the whole movie after the bombings, that film stayed with me for far too long. Zodiac. When he's stabbing the couple at Lake Berryessa, the lack of any music while hearing their screams is disturbing. The movie did an accurate job with portraying everything based from the witness survivor accounts. There's audio of the boyfriend that survived that stabbing, and the 911 operator who spoke to the killer, as well as a reading of the mother who was picked up by him, and they all say he was calm and well spoken. That alone creeps the duck out of me. Before I kill you, I'm going to throw your baby out the window. Oh my gosh, that made the hair stand up on my arms. Imagine getting in the car and hearing that. Stuff like that didn't scare me as a teen. But as an adult who rightfully fears strangers, creepy people, that is just so scary. I think as I got older I became less spooked by supernatural stuff and more spooked by things that could actually happen. In Return to Oz, where the girl is strapped to the table, and when you see all those freestanding heads lining the walls. That movie is one of the most trippy and ucked up movies, and it boggles my mind that it was marketed to children. Those motorcycle guys freak me out the most for some reason. Beware the wheelers. We were soldiers when they carpet bombed too close and several soldiers caught on fire. Then when they lifted up the guy and his legs peeled. Less graphic, but that scene where the two guys are in a foxhole in the dark and one guy mentions being able to smell the enemy, followed by an illumination round being fired over them, and you see they are surrounded by NVA, was nuts. Event Horizon. The heck, recording showing terrible things. I don't believe in supernatural stuff, but that scene sticks with me. I saw Event Horizon one afternoon in an almost empty theater. There was another lone guy sitting a few rows ahead of me. A couple of times during the movie he turned around and made some comment to me about how scary it was. Almost like he needed not to feel alone. He finally got up and left. Was it when he was ducking crawling through the tunnel? The movie The Lobster stands out to me. Spoilers, disturbing suicide warning. The premise from what I remember of the movie is society mandates marriage. If you don't marry, you are sent to a hotel where you have 30 days to meet your spouse. If you don't, you are turned into an animal. First would be when a depressed lady was introduced and tries to get with the main character. Cause she only had a few days left to partner up. She mentions she might kill herself if she doesn't, but is worried, cause her room is only on the 3rd or 4th floor. A few scenes later the main character is having some serious dialogue with a lady, who is known for being cruel and heartless, whom he is trying to court. The lady from earlier. At this point, jumps out her window, and is visibly bleeding out and screaming in agony just feet away from the two in dialogue. Because he is acting cruel to impress this other lady, and she is pretty evil to begin with, they completely ignore what just happened. I kid you not, it's like a nearly 2-minute scene of serious dialogue while this lady is in the background dying in pain. More spoilers, and then later in the movie she kills his dog who is also his brother. Such a disturbingly wacky movie. The movie totally knocks the social commentary out of the park, but it is hard to enjoy. Doesn't just kill a dog, kicks it to death. There is still blood all over her shoes. Just watched The Lobster this last weekend. Knew the odd premise, but wasn't prepared for the oddness of everything else. There's a scene from the movie The Road where the father and his son discover a room full of chained, naked people waiting to be eaten by the cannibals living in the house, and then they run away and they get chased by the cannibals. That scene really traumatized me when I was young. I remember crying so hard when I watched that movie. Edit, I swear my parents are not bad people, lol. I don't remember exactly since it's been like 10 years, but I'm sure if they knew how intense that movie was, they would not have let me watch it. Also, I was like 13, 14, not 8 or something, haha. The scene I always remember the most was when they were hiding in the bathroom and he pulled out his gun with his one bullet and held it to his son's head because he knew that if they were discovered, that it was the only thing he could do. Not the most classically disturbing imagery, but being a father myself, I think about that scene a lot. It was a great film, but I would likely not watch it again. Spoiler alert for The Thing 1982. One of the researchers, Norris, gets infected by the extraterrestrial being and had started replicating him from the inside. Dr. Copper attempts to revive him after Norris gets a heart attack, being unaware of the infection. As he is about to use the defibrillator, the extraterrestrial bites his arms off, and Norris' body gets severed into pieces and each part develops legs of its own as the thing tries to replicate his body. Disgusting stuff. In case you are interested, here's a link to the clip link. Skip to 1:12. The Thing was truly a film ahead of its time. The practical effects hold up to this day, which the 2011 prequel couldn't even match with CGI. Still find it baffling that the reviews upon the initial release was mostly negative. Great cast performance, effective soundtrack, and an excellent blend of science fiction, body horror, and psychological thriller made it a masterpiece. When Jennifer ate the tomato, there's scary stuff. There's disturbing stuff. There's images that can scar someone for life, and then, above all of those, there's close-up shots of people eating. The eye-sewing shenanigans in Coraline. That movie was the horror movie for kids. I hear the book is even more horrifying. Part of the reason the book is creepier is that YB doesn't exist. He was added to the movie so it wouldn't be Coraline talking to herself. In the context of the book, that means that a good portion of the book is a lost, scared little girl talking to herself, trying to maintain her sanity in the face of unimaginable, otherworldly horrors. Oh, probably the scene in Hannibal where Anthony Hopkins cooks the guy's brain and feeds it to him. Same movie, different scene. When the disformed guy remembers Hannibal giving him poppers, and then a piece of glass with instructions to escape now if you want to cut his own face and feed it to the dogs. It didn't leave me for years. The longer I get from this scene I feel better. I believe it was Human Centipede 2. Pregnant woman pretends to be dead, is discarded to the side of the room, waiting for her chance to escape. Goes into labor, obviously can't continue playing dead, screams and runs. Is discovered by Centipede Jude, manages to get herself into a car as baby pops out. Lady smashes baby's head under the pedal as she slams the gas pedal down attempting to escape. I don't watch horror movies anymore. Holy duck, that description is gruesome. If I'm remembering it correctly, the scene is 100% graphic too. There's no cut away from the gas pedal before she puts her foot down. It shows everything. It's been several years since I watched that movie, but I remember it randomly every now and again. It's honestly one of those scenes I wish I could just forget seeing. Duck. I wish I could forget reading it. I'm done with this thread now. There's an 80s-90s horror movie called When a Stranger Calls Back, or The Spoliers. In the movie, The killer is a ventriloquist who can throw his voice. In the end scene, the protagonist is in a room with the killer and can hear him, but she can't see him. He has painted himself to look like the wall. This scene impacted me for many years. As a single woman living alone, I would walk around my house, trailing my hand along the wall to make sure no one had painted themselves to match my wall. The scene in The Mummy where the scarabs crawled under the one guy's skin. I saw it when I was about 8 and it traumatized me. I still have nightmares once in a while about it 20 years later. Jesus Christ, this scene. I was in the field once collecting insect specimens for a project in uni. I lifted a rock and a bajillion Egyptian grain beetles came spewing out. Just like the scene from The Mummy, nearly ducking shat myself. I was out of there before they could get under my skin. This was so horrifying to me at the time because I was so young when I watched it, but the last scene in Cannibal Holocaust where the cannibals assaulted and attacked one of the film crew has just stayed with me since. Wasn't there some sort of investigation because the movie seemed too realistic? Wasn't there controversy over them actually killing some animals on screen? That part with the giant turtle was ducked. That scene in Pinocchio where the boy turns into a donkey, right? And that's never addressed. The country's entire population of young boys is being kidnapped, experiencing ultimate body horror, and then being sold into slavery. And at the end of the movie all of that is still happening. Nobody is rescuing those kids. Geppetto doesn't give a crap. Because he's got his real boy. Why isn't Jiminy Cricket screaming in Pinocchio's ear about the donkey holocaust? Is that what happens? I didn't watch the movie. Just that scene and always assumed that Pinocchio would save the day or something. Nope. The movie's explicit messages little boys who misbehave are jackasses and deserve whatever bad things happen to them. In 7. The guy in the sex club recounting what the murderer made him do with a strap-on saw blade. His screaming about what he made him do. That was the worst scene from 7. I went to bed after watching it, and my mind kept revisiting that horrible Polaroid. Incredibly disturbing. The baby scene in Trainspotting. My mom has always been great at picking out important details or slight foreshadowing in films, and I vividly remember watching this with her for the first time. And shortly before that scene with the characters all in the apartment. But well before you become aware of the baby's death. She looked at me and said, "Oh duck, the baby stopped crying." Still sticks with me. Editors Eustrafa Safapath and some mild independent research pointed out my mom and I are wrong by both the book and film. Unless there is a director's cut or something I'm unaware of. The general agreement in the other comments makes me think this might be a result of the Mandela effect. Yes. The entire movie I'm like, man, that baby is just always crying. And then right before that key scene I was like, huh, the baby isn't crying. Yeah, that was disturbing. I'm sorry, but Black Swan, when she has skin at the edge of nail and she pulls it. Duck. No. I tend to pick at my cuticles when I'm feeling anxious, and I felt this scene. The scene in Robocop when Murphy was murdered. I was much more disturbed when Emil was staggering around half melted because of the toxic waste, moaning for someone to help him or kill him. End communication. Final scene of The Mist with Thomas Jane. All for nothing. Such a great movie moment. I think I read somewhere that when Stephen King read the script sending for approval, that he said if he wrote the book today it would have the film's ending. Which makes sense. King is an amazing writer, but has difficulty with making a fulfilling ending. The scene in Hotel Rwanda, where someone is driving over a bumpy road. The person looks down and realizes the bumps are human bodies. It's horrible to know such things happened. Edit, I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. It gives me hope that some people out there were just as affected by the scene as I was. I hope we can all work for a more compassionate tomorrow. The purposely botched electrocution in The Green Mile. To this day I can't watch even a second of that movie. In Saw 4, one of the traps someone gets caught in is where a machine slowly pulls some women's scalp clean off. I have never wanted long hair ever again. The brave little toaster when the vacuum sucks up his own cord. I will never vacuum over a cord. Edit cord. Cord. It's one of those words I'll never get right in context. Same movie for me. But I was a kid. And the scene was the air conditioner's suicide. The air conditioner scene always had me scared as a kid. In one of the later Rambo, I believe 5, where the bad dudes toss mines inside a pond and make the village people run across the pond or face getting shot. That whole movie has scenes of torture that are hard to watch for me. Not necessarily the gruesome of it, but knowing the fact that real people have definitely had a similar treatment before. The last 10-15 minutes of Requiem for a Dream. The scene in the original Pet Sematary where the old guy gets his Achilles tendon cut from the little kid under the bed. I always checked under the bed after that. Edit, these comments are a treat. Still pretty new to Reddit. Only recently been active. I absolutely love all the shared trauma we had with this one scene. Made me smile all day. Seeing all the comments and upvotes. Thanks for making my day in spite of the Rona lockdown and the smoky air making us have to stay indoors for the past few days. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Stay safe and always check under the bed. Splice when the thing grew a dick and raped its mother. Also when the dad ducked it. Think it is on Netflix if anyone is interested. I was about 10 or younger I think when I saw it, so I think that's why it stuck with me. But it's the scene from Pan's Labyrinth where the dad just bashes some soldier's face in with a wine bottle. Edit, when I say dad I mean the main girl's father, the commander psychopathic soldier. Looking back it wasn't a soldier's face, but the son of father who were out rabbit hunting. The scene in Fire in the Sky where he's pinned to table with eyes clamped open and that huge ass needle is coming at him. It's filmed from his perspective. There's this bear scene in Annihilation where the voices of the dead crew members mutate into the bear's growl. It's really FK and scary.